Thank you for joining me this evening, the 7th of April 2020. Thank you for joining my live broadcast this evening. This evening, like I said, I promised I am going to make it rain this evening, and it is the continual awareness for Nigeria disintegration, exposing the Nigeria government, making it rain on Garba Shehu, the special assistant to the presidency of Nigeria. This evening, I have come to tell you how to identify the government that supports terrorists. You are going to know how to identify when governments are sponsoring terrorism. You are going to know how to identify the government officials, the special assistants that are working for terrorist organization within a government. This evening, I am going to show you how the person called Garba Shehu, who is the assistant or the special assistant to the president of Nigeria, how he used his office to aid the terrorist activity of some terrorist organization in Nigeria, of some terrorist group in Nigeria. I am going to expose him for you to understand how he have used his office, his position to shield terrorists in Nigeria. And this thing I'm going to expose today are a lot of things that people don't think about and people do not talk about. So join me on this journey this evening as I tear Garba Shehu, the special assistant to President of Nigeria. This evening, I will prove to the world that the Garba Shehu, as I picked on him today, that Garba Shehu has been using his position in the government of Nigeria as the image maker of the government, as the spokesperson of the government to shield terrorists and support terrorism in Nigeria. This evening, join me on that ride. Before I continue, before I go ahead on this journey, there is something I want you to know today. All of you that are watching me, if you know anybody from Yoruba, especially the middle class of Yoruba, tag them to this my live broadcast, because something I'm about to do will tell them something a lot. If you know this Funke, I want you people to know that the current government of Nigeria, as you call it, the current government of Nigeria, I will always say the government of Nigeria and the Nigeria as a country has become irredeemable. It has become irredeemable. Those who are in power, those who are rich, will continue to suppress and oppress those who are seen as middle class, and nobody would want to continue to be a second-class citizen in his or her own country. And this second-class citizen I am talking about is not only about the Biafrans, it is not only about the Igbos, but also the Yorubas. The Yorubas are also victims of this second-class citizen. The Yorubas has become victim of the second-class citizen in Nigeria. It is not only Biafrans that are crying. The Yorubas has become the victim, the biggest victim, because of the Amotekun, because of the indigenous security they have put in place to safeguard and protect women and children in Yoruba land. They have become overnight the second-class citizen of Nigeria. Now, before I go forward, I want you to see this. You see You see this thing, this person you are looking at? Before I go forward, one moment. One moment. Now look at this. This person you are looking at, I don't know her real name. I think her name is Funke. I think her name is Funke. She's an actress. When you look at her and her husband, look at her. Of course, you can tag all her fans because she's a very good actor in Nigeria, and she happens to be a Yoruba woman. She's a Yoruba lady. This woman, according to Nigeria terrorist-controlled government, they arrested her, molested her, charged her for disobeying government order on social distance. And I have also seen posts and pictures of so many Nigerians trying to mock her, trying to tell her that she's not above the law, trying to insult her, and have done a lot of things on her image. And this evening, I am starting Biafra agitation broadcast with this Yoruba lady. Before I go into what my business of the day, I have decided to start this broadcast with Yoruba lady, proving to you that the love of Biafrans has no boundary. And we will continue to do this if the need arises. This lady you see here has been arrested, charged to court, sentenced, and the husband that you are looking at now in this picture, according to them, is still on the run. The reason that the government gave is that she disobeyed the social distance order. Now, I want Nigeria to look at this. This is the court. This is presumably after the court proceeding of this Funke in the same Nigeria, in the same Lagos state. Will you now call this social distancing, or at the same time the breach of the same law that she was arrested for? I want you to ask yourself a question today as you are supporting One Nigeria. We want to know why they singled this lady out and started persecuting and molesting her in public. What the picture you are looking at now is the court, the premises of the court that sentenced her. The picture you are looking at now is the premises of the court that sentenced that lady. Will you look at this picture and say that they have not violated the law? Have they not violated the law in this same Lagos state? Have these people not violated the law? Is the crowd you are looking at in this picture social distancing? I want you to ponder on these questions I'm asking you. You that have been supporting One Nigeria, you that have been sharing picture of this lady in social media saying she is not above the law, you that have molested and blackmailed this lady as a scapegoat, that she's not above the law. This is the court, this is the premises of the court that sentenced her. Will you say that these people you are looking at now, they have not violated the same law? This is one. Now, I want to tell you another thing. Will you say that the people, these are the security agents, These are the security agents that took her to court. Would you say that these security agents have not violated the law on social distancing? Look at one of the security agents with mask. He removed his mask. He removed his mask. Look at him. Would you say that he has not violated the law? Huh? Well, you know, somebody who is asking, is this my problem? Yes, injustice everywhere is injustice to any person is injustice to all. And if you think this is not my problem, this is why the average Yorubas, this is why the middle class Yorubas should understand that they don't belong to Nigeria. They don't belong to Nigeria because the video you are looking at now is Tinubu.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Daddy. Happy birthday to you.
And that is Tinubu. This is Tinubu. This is Tinubu breaching the social distance law with impunity. Have anybody arrested him? Have anybody arrested Tinubu? Have anybody arrested Tinubu? The answer is no. The answer is no. Nobody have arrested Tinubu. Nobody have arrested the people that have breached the constitution or the law in Tinubu's house against this coronavirus social distancing. Tinubu had a party in his house on the 29th of March. This girl was arrested on the 5th of April. Has anybody arrested anybody from Tinubu's house? The answer is no. And I will leave you average Yoruba people, to think about the video and the information I've just showed you now. Now I'm going to my day business. Welcome to this live broadcast. It is time we go for Garuba Shehu. Garuba Shehu, I will start by this. All of you remember when the IPOB was proscribed. Garuba Shehu started running his mouth. He started running his mouth also about the human rights activities and the issue of the IPOB, Indigenous People of Biafra. I am going to let you know something this evening. Now, I want you to listen to this.
Time and again that you cannot proceed against a non-jurist person. They think that the Supreme Court has stated time and again that you cannot proceed against a non-jurist person. They think that the court process was faulty and that that can and will be challenged. And then the question of, what if another group comes up with another name? Because if you say you prescribe this one, if the Southeast group are saying it doesn't address those issues, if groups keep coming up, does that help us in any way rather than dialogue with them?
No, it doesn't help, all right. But if you are saying that there's another group that comes up and produces a passport and prints currency and sets up an intelligence agency and a paramilitary organization of sorts, the law would go after them in the same way as they did the IPOP. As for dialogue, it's never been ruled out. I just said a short while ago that I believe that government is concerned that that IPOD had taken an opportunistic action by latching on to existing grievances in the southeast, grievances that are legitimate, that need to be addressed, and that the government is making a separation between what IPOB is doing and there are real problems in the southeast that need to be addressed. And I'm convinced that the government is determined to take some actions that would reassure, that would assuage, some of the feelings that are present in the region.
Well, ever since the operation in the southeast, there are several people who are saying they don't know the whereabouts of the man in question. Does the government know his whereabouts?
I'm surprised that somebody would ask this question. Some people went to court and obtained his freedom. They signed his bail. I believe that a high-profile group, including a senator of the Federal Republic, signed in a court of law and obtained his freedom. So if you are looking for, why don't you ask the people who bailed him? I'm not saying that, I'm not aware, nobody has informed me that Mr. Kanu is in the hands of any institution of government. But if I was looking for him, I would ask the guy who bailed him, because that's the deal he has with the court of the land.
Do you see a situation where the National Assembly will have a run-in with the executive arm of government over this, considering the statements that have come out from the National Assembly meetings that we've seen so far? First of all, we heard the Senate President talk about how this process, the federal government, what the military did was unconstitutional. And then we heard much later that he was meeting with senators from the Southeast, and they've released statements that doesn't seem to, support the prescription of IPOB as a militant terrorist organization. They believe that it will have vast implications for people from that region.
No, I don't expect any such collusion, because from the initial statement by the President of the Senate and the subsequent one by the caucus of the Southeast senators, I think they essentially were concerned about the due process of the law being observed. And of course, it is on the basis that people had misread the initial pronouncement of the military as meaning a fait accompli had been, put in place as far as IPOB is concerned. But you can see that, from then to now, the due process of the law have fully been complied with. The courts have ruled on the matter. I think that then there is no basis for disagreement.
What about the fears that this could have grave implications for people from the Southeast? Recall that even before now, before Boko Haram was designated a terrorist organization, there were also appeals for the federal government to, tread with caution, because it would have grave implications for those who come from that side of the country.
I think that those fears are absolutely correct, and people are entitled to those views, and that I think that the expectation must be that our military, the law enforcement agencies, must conduct themselves with the highest respect for human rights. Certainly, there must be no room for generalizations as far as assumptions as to membership or advocacy for IPOB is concerned. There has to be proof of evidence, for anybody to be so branded. I think that there is good reason to be concerned that an innocent person may be roughened up on the basis or on the wrong assumption that they are IPOB when they are not. So then the thing is to appeal to them, all of the security agencies, to exercise the highest level of caution and to make sure that the rights of citizens are respected.
What about internationally? What effect do you think this will have on, people from that region, people of the Southeast, internationally, when you prescribe a certain organization as a terrorist one?
I think that I don't think anybody is mistaken the fact that IPOB is a small group of misguided young people who are running against, I says, the wind, or running against the tide of politic and established views in the region. I think predominantly everyone is convinced that the Southeast leadership, represented by their governors, their parliamentarians, and their political and their business people around it, they don't want this country broken. They want this country to be one. However, are there grievances that need to be addressed? Yes, there are grievances and they must be addressed. I think that it would be a mistake for anyone to simply be assumed to be a terrorist simply because he comes from. That will not be fair. In any case, we have had this experience also elsewhere. As you said a short while ago with the Boko Haram and all of that. But even the international systems, I think they have a way of, being guided by the rights of individuals, and that they allow you to, project yourself, make the mistake before there's a clamp down on anybody.
Onyasa has a question for you.
Mr. Shell, the question I want to ask, let's step back a little bit. And
I am coming to comment. I'm coming to
how do you
just
deal with
listen. I am
situation
coming to make a
some
comment
people,
in a very crucial
major
point
views have been following
from this
the
interview.
kind of believe that their concerns are legitimate. And yes, this group has been proscribed. What about other groups that might come up with legitimate issues? How do we deal with these issues? Is it by just clamping down on them? Or do we sit down to talk?
No, government this is not a dictatorship, certainly. So government will not clamp down on people because they have grievances. A major problem in the East and in many parts of the country, obviously, the issues of poverty and unemployment are critical a critical part of the solution to all of these things. My assumption is that there will be measures that will come that will be reassuring to address not only youths in the Southeast, but all over the country. There are already processes that are being put in place. All of the things about the social investment and schemes that are being implemented by the federal government. It's a given commitment in our manifesto as a party, as APC, that will create jobs. Because, as they say, the idle mind is the devil's workshop. So therefore, Kano himself achieved some traction, achieved the traction in the Southeast because he cashed in on the fears and concerns of ordinary people. And I think that the government is in a position to make a separation between what is genuinely, matters of grievance that need to be addressed and matters that are terrorism related.
Question, and I want to bring in a follow-up to that because some other groups have declared, for instance, Oduduwa Republic. There was that point where there was a threat to those living in the other part of the country, in the northern part of the country, to leave the country by a certain time of the year. These are all issues, and there's likely to be some other ones coming up. So, yes, you said there's no clamping down, but what are the modalities to deal with issues like this? Because agitations will continue to arise until these kind of plans are put in place and people know that they can have the ear of the government to settle these issues. What modalities are there?
Well, I don't think anybody is right to make assumptions of any country anywhere in the world that doesn't have the undertone or overt expressions of agitations or concerns or problems. There will always be problems. The important thing is how are they dealt with. And for those who are promoting those points of view, those who are agitating, how far off the mark are they? If they are within the law, for instance, if you look at what is happening in the Southeast, there is also MASOP, which is agitating for Biafra. But MASOP hasn't taken to violence. MASOP hasn't printed currency or formed an army or a pseudo army. And so therefore there's a difference. This is why the government has not proscribed MASOP, because they have so far remained within the law of the land. And yes, you mentioned the Oduduwa Republic advocates and some of the northern elements who said who had given those notices. Important thing is that people had listened to counsel, they had listened to leadership, and they had toned down and they amended those ways. In the case of Kanu's IPOB, it's on record that they had shut themselves completely out of counsel from governors of the region. They snubbed the senators from their region. Who else is there do they want to talk to? They clearly are not interested in any form of dialogue with anyone.
Now, did you hear that? I am coming now. I am coming now. Did you hear that? He mentioned a lot of things, but before I go to only one word he said in this particular tape, before I go there, I want you to listen to this as well, because it's going to be every two video at a time, and I will come to what I want to talk about.
Even after security men have been deployed to southern Kaduna?
Even as it is, it's not as bad as it was. Things are calming down. It would be assumptuous to think that this crisis will just go away with a wave of the hand. It will take a while. Some rascally elements will stray, will perpetrate crime. But by and large, I think that the effect, the measures put in place by government are having an effect.
The reason we say this is because I recall having a conversation sometime after the president, I think it was through your medium, released a statement, on the situation in southern Kaduna, which a lot of people felt came late. And then secondly, we understand that he directed the soldiers, he directed the military to see what it was that they could do to ensure that peace and security returned to Kaduna. But then there were also questions, the people who were involved in this, we asked them if they felt reassured by the statement of the president on that. And for a lot of them, they wanted the security men to be able to go into the bushes because they felt that was where the marauders were. They also felt that, it was difficult for them to go to their farms, and that they were saying that the bulk of the security men were mostly in town and on the roads, which is not where the attacks were happening.
Well, again, we often make mistakes, which is that we leave matters of security to police and to the army. There's enormous responsibility that relies on all of us as members of our various communities. Let me give this example, because we just are having this nasty experience coming out of Borno, that a chairman of a particular local government has been found complicit in Boko Haram. And he's been shielded by community members. And that's not how it should be, because we as members, we have our own duty. If we leave these things to the police, to the army, we don't have enough policemen to put on every square inch of the soil of this country. Yes.
Did you hear what he said? Did you hear that? I want to pause here and make a comment. Did you hear what he said? Let me play it again so you understand what he said before I start my analysis.
And that's not how it should be, because we as members, we have our own duty. If we leave these things to the police, to the army, we don't have enough policemen to put on every square inch of the soil of this country. Yes, I believe that there is more to do. There is more that needs to be done. But communities must not shirk their own responsibility dealing with some of this crisis.
The question is, how do they, because the
experience coming out of Borno, that a chairman of a particular local government, we often make mistakes, which is that we
now listen very attentively.
Leave matters of security to police and to the army. There's enormous responsibility that relies on all of us as members of our various communities. Let me give this example, because we just are having this nasty experience coming out of Borno, that a chairman of a particular local government has been found complicit in Boko Haram. And he's been...
A chairman of local government in Borno has been found complicity in the Boko Haram, sponsoring Boko Haram people probably, and all that. And listen to what he said. He said that the villagers, the community, shielded the local government chairman. Listen to it. I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
A chairman of a particular local government has been found complicit in Boko Haram. And he's been shielded by community members. And that's not how it should be, because...
You hear that? And the local government chairman was being shielded by community leaders in Borno State. And they come to tell you, and community leaders, which means every community leader that shielded him is a member of Boko Haram. And he sit here saying it. Now listen to what he said about the IPOB. Let me now go back to the first video that I played for you to now connect it with what he said now. That a chairman of a local government in Borno State has been found guilty and that he is supporting and sponsoring Boko Haram, but the community leaders are shielding him, which means he has never been arrested. He has never been arrested, having hand in Boko Haram. Now, listen to this.
You know, if I could follow up with that, the National Assembly, their perspective, there are also lawyers who are saying that the Supreme Court has stated time and again that you cannot proceed against a non-jurist person. They think that the court process was faulty and that that can and will be challenged. And then the question of, what if another group comes up with another name? Because if you say you prescribe this one, if the Southeast group are saying it doesn't address those issues, if groups keep coming up, does that help us in any way rather than dialogue with them?
Remember the question, if another group like IPOB comes up tomorrow, what are the government going to do? Remember, this man said somebody in a local government chairman under government of Nigeria, serving government of Nigeria, elected government chairman, local government chairman, is being shaded by Borno State community leaders as a Boko Haram member or somebody sponsoring Boko Haram. He has never been arrested. Nobody have sent battalion of Nigeria military to those villages. Nobody have sent battalion of Nigeria military to Borno, to his compound, like they did to Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. Nobody have sent battalion of Nigeria military to go and start bombardment of his compound. And he is a confirmed Boko Haram, including the entire community. In Rivers State today, they are invading community. They are killing community. They are burning houses, claiming there are criminals, element of criminality in Bayelsa State, claiming there are element of criminality in Warri, in Afarauku. But somebody, he said it, I didn't say it. He said that the local government chairman of Borno, when I was telling you people that Borno people are comfortable with Boko Haram, it is not a lie. It is what we have researched on, and we have come to that conclusion. The entire North are comfortable with the terrorists. They are comfortable with the Islamic State. Is only few who are Christians or who did not buy the idea of Islamic State that will say they are not comfortable. But the entire North are comfortable. You hear him saying it. The community leaders in Borno State begin to shield the local government chairman against any external force, including the military. And he is here saying it. Now, watch.
No, it doesn't help, all right. But if you are saying that there's another group that comes up and produces a passport and prints currency and sets up an intelligence, agency and a paramilitary organization of sorts, the law would go after them in the same way as they did the IPOB. As for dialogue, it's never been ruled out. I just said a short while ago that I believe that government is concerned that that IPOD had taken an opportunistic action by latching onto existing grievances in the Southeast, grievances that are legitimate, that need to be addressed.
And what are the grievances? What are the grievances of the IPOB? What are the grievances of the people of the southern east of Nigeria? What are the grievances? Let me show you what the grievances of IPOB and Biafras are. Now watch. You see this? This is Dubai, United Arab Emirates. For those of you, you know, because Nigerians, anytime you people are talking, you are shouting Dubai, 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 Dubai this, Dubai that. Do you understand that the chief of army staff, the current chief of army staff, have multi-billion naira investment in Dubai? Are you people aware of that? If you are not aware of that, I will bring the video later on. He has multi-billion dollar investment in Dubai. He have come severally to deny it. But do you know why everybody running to Dubai? Do you know why IPOB? And do you know why Biafra want freedom? Do you know the grievances of Biafra? The grievances of Biafra is because they are taking loan of $22.7 billion. They did not include the Southeast. The grievances of IPOB and Biafra, I'm not telling you the grievances from the 1970. I'm telling you the grievances from this 2020. I'm not even going far. So the second grievances is that they have been sharing 5,000 naira and 10,000 naira depending on the category of poverty in the northern Nigeria for the last 5 years. Nobody in Biafra land have received 1 naira from the federal government. That is the grievances. Now, you say you want to go to Dubai. You invest in Dubai. You buy houses in Dubai. Chief of Army Staff have used $2.4 billion budgeted for the Ministry of Defense in 2020. Biggest part of that money is going to Dubai, where he's doing investment, and he tagged it family business. What kind of family business? He denied it, and he continued to deny it. He said it is family business. What business is your family doing? Business of sending Biafrans to the war front of Boko Haram unarmed, and they get killed there. That is the business. Now let me show you something very important about Dubai that a lot of you don't know. And that is part of the thing that prompted Biafra to begin to agitate for exit. Now, Dubai that you know today have 7 different emirates. That Dubai they take your money and go to Dubai to invest. Dubai have 7 different emirates operating independently. Now, listen, read this. Let me read it to you. This is the politics. This information is available, of course, online. This is politics of the United Arab Emirates. The United Arab Emirates is a federal constitutional monarchy made up from a federation of 7 hereditary tribal absolute monarchy-styled political system called Sheikhdom or Sheikhdom. It is governed by a federal supreme council made up of the ruling sheikhs of Abu Dhabi, Ajman, Fujairah, Sharjah, Dubai, Ras Al Khaimah, and Al Kuwaim. Also, all responsibilities not granted to the national government are reserved to the individual emirate. A percentage of revenues from each emirate is allocated to the United Arab Emirates central budget. The United Arab Emirates uses the title Sheikh instead of Emir to refer to the rulers of individual emirate. The title is used due to the Sheikhdom style governing system in adherence to the culture of tribe of Arabia, where Sheikh means leader, elder, or the tribal chief of the clan who partake in shared decision-making with his followers. Do you know why I read this? Do you know why I read this to you? Do you know why I read this to you? When people, section of the country, come to agitate for restructuring of Nigeria and devaluation of power, this is what they are talking about. But you know what? The people who are rejecting the devaluation of power and the restructuring of this Nigeria from the north all have investment in Dubai. Including the current president's wife have investment in Dubai, where this devaluation of power is working, and that is why Dubai is one of the best countries in the world, and they are investing there. And they all know why is Dubai now working very well. Why is Dubai a country of investment? Why is Dubai a destination of investment? They go there, carry the money from the southern part of Nigeria, from the oil part of Nigeria, they will take it to Dubai to develop Dubai and inject those money into Dubai economy that is running a different system. A different system that they have devalued the power from the central government, and each emirate, each of the 7 emirates in Dubai, in this United Arab Emirates Kingdom, each emirate running their own government. Are you people aware of that? If you are not aware of it, you know it today. You know it today. And for you to understand that Fulani don't want progress, the only thing they are interested in is making sure they conquer the rest of Nigeria, to take the oil, to begin to sponsor and groom terrorists that will now be exported to the Western world to start carrying out terrorist attack in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, in the next 30 years. And that is why when we are shouting like this, it is not about us. Once they are done with us and they succeed, when they are facing with Turkey, they are facing the Western world, Europe, because the money will be there for them to continue to sponsor terrorism. And when we are preaching this, we are saving the future of the Western world. We are saving the future of Europe. We are saving the future of America. You have seen how many of them that have sponsored to the Western world, including the one that attempted to bomb America airline. That is by the way. Now, let me continue where I stopped. Here, remember that this man said that somebody in the north has been found to be sponsor of Boko Haram, or to be at least in contact with Boko Haram and all that, and the community are shielding him, and no soldier have invaded his community to take him and bombard the community. And that is where the presence of soldiers are, in the northeast, but nobody has invaded. So you see why IPOB and Biafrans are shouting for freedom of Biafra. Because why I started this broadcast by first of all showing that Yoruba lady and their husband is for you to have this link, to know the context from where I'm coming from. You see, first of all, this man, everybody know him. Not only him, now it has connected the entire community leader in the local government. They shouted the Boko Haram sponsor against arrest, against intimidation from Nigerian military, against intimidation from police. But come to the Biafra land, see what they did to Nnamdi Kanu, see what they did to Abia people, see what they did to Afaruku. They came with tanks. They came with APC tanks to start bombarding Afaruku because people were agitating legally that they don't want to be part of Nigeria again. He went further to say, if another group comes up and did what IPOB did, they are going to come after them. But you are yet to go after a known terrorist that has been, that the international community have ranked the deadliest terrorist group in the world. You refuse to go after the local government chairman in Borno State. You see the injustice that we don't want to be part of anymore. That same way, they arrested that Funke, charged her to court. Meanwhile, you have a lot of people in DSS detention who have been detained for 20 years. In fact, some people have been in detention for 20 years. Oh, on a more serious note, in Nigeria, without trial, without sentence, and some people even die. Nobody cares about them. You arrested this lady, you take her to court within a few days, sentence her, and somebody called Tinubu have the same party in his house. He was not arrested. And in the same court, you have crowd, social distancing. You break your own law, and nobody is thinking about that way. Now, listen to him here.
I would think that if I should present views against her own, I would only succeed in fetching more insults on the president of Nigeria, who does not deserve to be so.
The center of the political.
He is about to address the different kind of allegation from Obieze Ekwesili. I don't want to play her video because it's not what I'm focused on today. So I'm focusing on Garba Shehu.
Businesses in that country. Thank you so much, Malam Garba Shehu, for your time. Foster, how would you react to the criticisms coming from the BBOG? You've heard from Dr. Ezekwesili tonight on reasons why the girls are yet to be rescued or released or returned to their parents. What is the government doing in for the return of some of these girls? How would you react to Dr. Ezekwesili tonight?
Well, Shewon, I would say, first of all, if you would excuse me without meaning to be rude to you or to Madam Ezekwesili, that this is a perfect ambush because if I had been invited to present myself against Madam Ezekwesili, I would have politely declined to be on the show. Not because one is afraid to, confront her on her views, but because, I speak for the president of Nigeria, who went into an election with this lady. He got nearly 50 million votes to win. She got about 36 or so thousand votes, which in my local government council, you cannot even be a councillor with this number of votes. More than any other thing, I would think that if I should present views against her own, I would only succeed in fetching more insults on the president of Nigeria, who does not deserve to be so disrespected. So this is my position.
Did you listen to his position? He is going to address the question, but first of all, the question was coming from Obi Ezekwesili, who, according to him, is not qualified to ask that question. So Obi is not qualified to ask the question because she contested against Buhari. She contested presidential election, and for that reason, she is not qualified for him to respond to her question. That is the people that are leading you.
However, having been forced to now present my views on this matter, I would say that she has spoken a lot about all of these things that had happened in the past, and it is very clear that she doesn't look at the past. Although the fact that she did say that it's a problem that President Buhari inherited. He presented David Cameron, for instance. And the clear intention by her is as if that did not matter at all. But this is the very foundation of the problem. That is how it got started. And if this matter had been handled with the resolution that it called for from the very beginning, we would not have been where we are today. So the question you asked, go directly to it. What is the government doing presently to rescue the remaining girls, Chibok girls, and all the other persons that are being held captive against their wish? I will tell you this, that the government of Nigeria has involved many who matter on this matter, particularly stakeholders at the grassroots level. Instead of everyone looking to say President Buhari solved this problem, Buhari is talking to the governments of Yobe, Borno in particular, and all of their traditional rulers who are now, one way or the other, directly or indirectly, reaching out to terrorists of the Boko Haram. And
are you hearing that? Directly and indirectly reaching out to the terrorists of Boko Haram. Did you hear that? I did not say it. The government of Nigeria has been reaching out to Boko Haram. And like I said, the title of this live broadcast is exposing the representative of the terrorist organizations in Nigeria government, and how Garba Shehu have used his position to champion the cause of protecting terrorist organization in Nigeria. That is the title of this broadcast today. How Garba Shehu used his position as special assistant to the presidency, and he has always been the image making of the government. How he have used that position to shield terrorist organization from Mayete Allah to bandit to Boko Haram. And that part is coming in the next video.
Idea is to get to the root of the problem and to see how we can secure the kind of peace that would endure, that will yield the release of all hostages, that will end all of the fighting. Progress is being made gradually. You know that you're aware that the government has set up a de-radicalization center in Gombe, for instance. And we are having Boko Haram terrorists giving up their arms from many directions, surrendering them and submitting themselves for de-radicalization. So the idea is get to the root of the problem, see how the problem, there can be a permanent solution that will endure, that will end the insurgency, that will bring back all those who are held against their will. As for those who hold the girls in question, yes, Madam Ezekwesili did mention that the government got back some, and I appreciate the concession she gave to President Buhari for having got back some of them. For all we can see from what we hear from the interlocutors who are interfacing between the Nigerian government and the terrorists, we have not lost hope. There is a window of negotiation kept open all the time. At the same time, when the military activity is still ongoing. So we are talking. There are several others who are talking, including some in the NGO community, who are confronted sometimes with the situations they cannot handle, and they come back to the government. You must be mindful of the government's responsibility to the military forces who are there fighting for the country, making sacrifices, and the safety of the larger Nigerian population. Yeah, terrorists make demands, or hostage takers make demands all over the world, and our own are also making demands. The government, a responsible government as we have, would make sure that you don't empower them by giving them the kind of money that would make them buy maybe anti-aircraft gun and shoot down civilian aircraft, for instance. Or they don't they don't offer you maybe.
You didn't hear that? They don't want to give them money that will make them to buy aircraft that will shoot whatever. See, the reason I'm playing this video is for you to understand where this whole thing, why this Biafra must go, why Nigeria must disintegrate. They are talking with Boko Haram in the north. Government representative, according to him, talking with the Boko Haram in the north. Meanwhile, they are waiting for any group to come up, and they will crush them in the southeast. Did you hear that? They are not coming to talk. And when he started this whole video I played, he said there are issues in the southeast, and they have legitimate complaint, and those complaints will be revisited and will be addressed. And this is since 2015. And now he is telling you that any group that comes up and do what IPOB did, they will be crushed. You see why I told you that the IPOB is the only agitating group so far that have shaken the foundation of Nigeria. That does not mean that I'm discrediting other agitating group. No, but you see the reason why I made that comment before. I said it some time ago in my broadcast, like last week. I said IPOB has become the only agitating group of Biafra that have shaken and destroyed the foundation of Nigeria. You see the reason why I made that comment? You see the reason why I have that conclusion? That does not mean that I'm discrediting other agitating group. But for the fact that you are in Nigeria agitating for disintegration agitating for Biafra, you have not touched the marrow of the bone, or the bone marrow of Nigeria. Once you touch the bone marrow, like IPOB did, you will not be that your house will not be conducive for you. And guess what? We don't need to be in Nigeria to bring Biafra. We will bring Biafra from abroad. I have been saying it. Biafra will come from abroad if it doesn't come from Nigeria. Now continue. One moment. Now again, when they are telling you that the people ruling Nigeria, there are people ruling Nigeria. When the Biafra agitators, IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu, claim that the people ruling Nigeria, that Nigeria don't have any president, that Nigeria don't have any president, that claim can never be totally ruled out. You understand? That claim cannot be totally ruled out. Now read this. This is from the same Garba Shehu. Cabals are respectable Nigerians. They deserve respect. Garba Shehu. So finally, there is actually cabals ruling Nigeria. All right. He continued, the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Mr. Garba Shehu, has denied claim that cabals are powerful people controlling President Muhammad Buhari in key decision making. Now, listen to this. Shehu, who was a guest on Channel Television Politics Today on Wednesday, said, contrary to belief that cabals manipulate the president, they are respectable Nigerians who deserve respect because they have achieved a lot. Now, the question we should be asking now from this Shehu, who are these cabals? Since he has admitted that the cabals are respectable Nigerians who have achieved a lot, can we know who are these people, who are these cabals that have achieved a lot, and so that we will know who to respect and who not to respect? He said that they deserve respect. How can we be respecting ghosts? How can we be respecting unidentified persons? We need to know whom the respect, and they say, respect whom the respect is due. Give respect to whom respect is due. How can we know whom to respect? Can Garba Shehu come to tell us how and who are these people who are the respectable Nigerians, so that we will know how we can give them this respect to them. Meanwhile, we continue minding our business. I'm directing this to him. If you know Garba Shehu, he should come and tell us who are these cabals that we should be respected, so that we will begin to respect them, because we don't know who they are. He should come and tell us who are there, who are these people, so we can begin to respect them. Now, that is not enough. Watch this. One moment.
United States Embassy, which is saying that the decision is unconstitutional and that it undermines the independence of the judicial branch. He's saying that it's noting the widespread criticism from Nigeria, and that it undercuts the stated determination of government candidates and political party leaders to ensure that elections proceed in a way that is free and fair and transparent and peaceful, leading to a credible polls. And they did say such action is needed urgently now to ensure that this decision does not cast a pall over the electoral process. Mr. Shehu, what's his reaction of the presidency to the several reactions from the international community?
Well, let me first of all say that, in the relationships between nations, these are governed by certain norms, conventions. Among these is also the fact that you don't meddle in the internal affairs of one another. And I think this is why, since the new American president came into office about 2 years ago, there has been so much quarrel between them and Russians, because one country is accusing the other of meddling in their own elections. In our statement, we did say we are interested in being assisted to improve our elections and to grow our democracy. However, where these attempts aimed at dividing our people or sowing seeds of discontent or trouble, no, this government will not accept. In this particular instance, most of the argument put against us by those foreign countries says that this is the wrong time. 3 weeks to elections, you don't do a thing like this. And I think that if they are fair to us, they should know that in our own laws, a policeman can make arrest on Christmas Day. He can make arrest on Salah Day or on Sunday. There's no holy day on which you cannot apprehend, criminals. So our laws should be allowed to work, and the president acted upon a directive by a code of law recognized by our own constitution, and so therefore our president has done no wrong.
Does President Buhari see these as meddling in our internal affairs by these international officials?
They will they will not have accepted this in their own countries, and some groups, the Murik, for instance, the Muslim rights concern, gave a very intelligent statement on this matter, saying, if, for instance, the Lord Chief Justice of the UK were to be found to have money in excess of their own incomes deposited in bank accounts, or the Chief Judge of the United States Supreme Court found to have lived above means or had stashed huge sums of money that cannot be accounted for, they will not have accepted it. In our own case, whether someone was imperiled by a sense of guilt or whatever it was, there was a written admission that I am mistaken or that I forgot to do this duty prescribed by the Constitution. So, as a matter of fact, it's a settled matter. I'm not even sure investigation is warranted in the circumstance, because there is an admission. And the thing then would have been, if anybody cared about the institutions, if you are concerned that you embody the integrity and the well-being of the country's jurisprudence, I would have thought that, as Falana said a short while ago, someone should have resigned and allowed the country, to enjoy her peace and relieve the judiciary of this unnecessary and enormously, problematic burden.
Mr.
Now, this is the people talking about Onega or the sacked former CG. The present Tanko, CG of Nigeria, the present Fulani Sharia law judge of Nigeria, or the Sharia judge that is now the CG. The CGN of Nigeria now don't have certificate. As I'm talking to you today, the CGN, the person who is presiding over professors, over this Falana that you just saw his picture now, don't have certificate. In fact, his name is nowhere in any record of the Nigeria Bar Association. But he is the CBN. He is the CGN of Nigeria. And this one is here talking about somebody finding money in Oregon. Even if the money was found, were there due process? Is it the right of the president to fire Oregon? And why I'm showing this video is because for you to see the level they reached to protect, so that they will have that the institution, they will control the institutions that will protect and shared all the... A moment. A moment.
I mean, there are no wrong instances here and there, and you know, all of them just add up to painting a picture of insecurity. I think when my colleagues in Lagos started a conversation with the Minister of Transport, they started with the fact that a number of people now, a lot more people want to travel by rail because they don't feel very safe traveling by road to Kaduna. And now we hear that even generals are looking for train tickets because they don't want to go to Kaduna by road anymore. Doesn't that paint a picture of what are we really doing? You know, are we doing much? Yes, to try and make the country safer.
Yeah, so much is going on. What is going on is that, for instance, the main theater had been Zamfara for some time. And when this major activity was launched, the army, the police, the air force, the secret service, everyone, it's expected that some of those elements that had actually controlled some measure of territory and the set of kingdoms of crime of sorts would splinter, will break away, and they will disperse. As a matter of fact, you didn't mention the fact that the week before, a new base was being set up along Abuja-Lokoja Road by these people who had migrated from. So the thing is that they will be chased, and they're being closed in upon, and we were winning. We will win all over all of these things. When you say, well, it is expected that people will be called towards roads that even those that are being newly opened now, for instance, Gusau, Kauran Namuda, Tukatsina, Jibia, there is regular patrol, but people ask, you have to be strong to take that road. It will take time for people to be persuaded that these roads are safe.
Mr. Mwubike, whether in response to some of the issues raised, the letter written by the Emir of Katsina talking about security is definitely not a very pleasant one.
Let me say
what's been happening in recent times.
Comrade Mwubike has made some pertinent points about the fact of politics being present in some of the things we are witnessing. It's beyond criminality, and the military issued a statement only 48 hours or so, clearly indicating that intelligence is showing the hands of politicians talking to Boko Haram and the bandits. That is a fact. But it is totally unfair to the services, military securities.
It is a fact, politicians talking to Boko Haram and bandits. Who are the politicians that have hands in bandit and Boko Haram? Since he says it's a fact, have any politician in the north, from the northern part of Nigeria, been arrested? Where is, he say is a fact, which means they have evidence. So has anybody been arrested? The answer is no.
Some of these bandits are being eliminated. But the thing is that it will take a while for the entire project to be complete. Again, it is a mistake to say that the Nigerian government is talking to bandits.
Did you hear that? He said that is a lie. He said it is a mistake to say that Nigeria government is talking to bandits. Have they talking to bandits through the governor of Borno State, of Zamfara State? They have been talking to bandits through the governor of Zamfara State. And did they not see it?
I think that people, well, that is a fact. But it is totally unfair to the services, military securities, and the military. Every day arrests are being made. Some of these bandits are being eliminated. But the thing is that it will take a while for the entire project to be complete. Again, it is a mistake to say that the Nigerian government is talking to bandits. I think that people who are worried like you should go and do some more reading. The Mieti Allah group is like your own Ohainese or Afenifere. It's just a culture.
Did you hear that? That Meyete Allah is like Ohaneze. Meyete Allah is a replica or like Ohaneze Ndibo. Did you hear that? Meyete Allah or Meyete Allah is like Afenifere. That Meyete, did you hear that? Now watch.
It's not. But there are criminals within the Yoruba race.
Now he is
It
general.
hasn't improved since then. Is it a statement you will agree with?
Then if you say that you are ignoring all of the things we are witnessing, it's beyond criminality. And the military issued a statement only 48 hours or so, clearly indicating that intelligence is showing the hands of politicians talking to Boko Haram and the bandits. That is a fact. But it is totally unfair to the services, military securities, and the military. Every day arrests are being made. Some of these bandits are being eliminated. But the thing is that it will take a while for the entire project to be complete. Again, it is a mistake to say that the Nigerian government is talking to bandits. I think that people who are worried like him should go and do some more reading. The Mieti Allah group is like your own Ohanese or Afenifere. It's just a...
Let me repeat it. He said, Meyete Allah group is like Ohaneze, Ndibo, or Afenifere.
cultural group.
It's not.
But there are...
And this man here is telling him it's not. You see, the man here, the man there with him is telling him right in his face, it is not the same. He continued to say, Meyete Allah is like Ohaneze Ndibo and Afenifere. That man continued telling him, it is not. It is not. Hear him again.
To be complete. Again, it is a mistake to say that the Nigerian government is talking to bandits. I think that people who are worried like him should go and do some more reading. The Mieti Allah group is like your own Ohanese or Afenifere. It's just a cultural group.
It's not.
But
It's not. You hear that?
There are criminals within the Yoruba race, and you cannot say...
And then you see how the Garba Shehu have used his position as the spokesperson of this government, of this presidency. You see how he have used his position to shield Meyete Allah. Did you see that? He have used his position here to shield the terrorist group called Meyete Allah. Now, the people he said they are the same with Ohaneze Ndibo. Now watch. These are the people that Garba Shehu said that they are the same thing with Ohaneze Ndibo and Afenifere, using his political position to support and shield and defend terrorist group called Meyete Allah. When we tell you that the federal government of Nigeria has been the major sponsor of the killings all over Nigeria because of ethnic cleansing, you people think because we are shouting for Biafra. It is not because we are shouting for Biafra. These are facts. Here, this is a news. The news from Channel Television this news was October 27, 2019. Meyete Allah who apologizes for Benue killing. Meyete Allah Kautel or Hore also apologizes for Benue killings. Did you hear that? They apologize for Benue killings. Has Ohaneze Ndibo went to any or go to any part of Nigeria to kill and later on went there to apologize? He said that Meyete Allah is the same with Ohaneze Ndibo and Afenifere. Has Afenifere of Yoruba land went to north to kill people, and after killing them, they send their elders to go there and apologize? Are you people listening? Do you now understand why I said that Garba Shehu have used his position to shield and protect terrorist group called Meyete Allah and bandit? Did you understand that? Do you understand that now? Have Ohaneze Ndibo go to north or to Yoruba land to kill Yoruba people and later on go there to apologize? have a Fenifere group from Yoruba land come to Igbo or Biafra land to kill Biafrans, and after killing Biafrans, they came there, they come to Biafra again to apologize to Biafra. And so why would you now be saying these are the same thing with Ohanes Ndigbo and Afenifere? That is an insult. That is the biggest insult. And because he is a terrorist person, he is the image of the terrorist in Nigeria government. This Garba Shehu. That is why he can have this kind of impetus to come publicly and make such statement that Meyete Allah is the same thing with Ohanes Ndigbo, is the same thing with Afenifere. Meyete Allah that have carried out ethnic cleansing, that was ranked the third world's deadliest terrorist group by the Terrorism Index. Now, let me read this apology. These are facts. It is not something IPOB or Biafra agitators or whatever person manufactures. These are facts. This news read, it read, the Fulani socio-cultural group Meyeti Allah Kotel Hore has apologized to Governor Samuel Ortum for the herdsmen attack and killings in Benue State. You see, Mr. Saleh Al-Hassan, who is the National Secretary of the association, tendered the apology at the event attended by both men on Saturday in Makurdi, the state capital. He said, Meyete Allah Kauter Hore regretted, did you hear that? Regretted the killings in Benue State and pledged to ensure peaceful coexistence between herdsmen and farmers in the state going forward. Did you see that? Have Ohanes Ndigbo, since the Ohanes Ndigbo was founded, have they killed any single soul in Nigeria? Have Afenifere killed any single soul in Nigeria? Why would Garba Shehu, in defending Meyete Allah, will now equate them with Ohanes and Afenifere? Isn't that an insult on Yorubas? Isn't that an insult on Igbos? It was a very big insult. A very big insult. And a lot of people did not pay attention to this. And you will never pay attention to it until as I'm like tearing it in this way. You will never pay attention to it. And these are the small things. This is how they use their power, the appointment given to them to protect terrorists in Nigeria. You see? And where in the world, the kind of killing that this Meyete Allah carried out in Benue State, where in the world? It was a genocide. It was a genocide. It was pure genocide, war crime. Where in the world will you commit genocide and you go back to apologize for crime of genocide? It doesn't happen anywhere. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world that after committing genocide, you go and apologize for the crime of genocide. It doesn't happen anywhere. And it happened in Nigeria. Now, listen to this. One moment.
We, as members of, we have our own of a particular local government has been found complicit in Boko Haram. It is. Let me give this example because we just are having this nasty experience coming out of Borno that the.
One moment.
Well, the scene has been set. People were injured, a lot of them taken to the hospitals. And it was seen that every now and again, almost every once a week now, we've had one sporadic attack after another, even after security.
Now, watch how Garba Shehu used his position to defend terrorists, to defend herdsmen, Meyete Allah, to shield them with his position as special assistant and on publicity to the presidency, on publicity and media. Watch how he used that position very well to shield terrorists in Nigeria.
Men have been deployed to southern Kaduna.
Even as it is, it's not as bad as it was. Things are calming down. It would be assumptuous to think that this crisis will just go away with a wave of the hand. It will take a while. Some rascally elements will stray, will perpetrate crime. But by and large, I think that the effect, the measures put in place by government are having an effect.
The reason we say this is because I recall having a conversation sometime after the president, I think it was through your medium, released a statement, on the situation in southern Kaduna, which a lot of people felt came late. And then secondly, we understand that he directed the soldiers, he directed the military to see what it was that they could do to ensure that peace and security returned to Kaduna. But then there were also the people who were involved in this. We asked them if they felt reassured by the statement of the president on that. And for a lot of them, they wanted the security men to be able to go into the bushes because they felt that was where the marauders were. They also felt that, it was difficult for them to go to their farms and that they were saying that the bulk of the security men were mostly in town and on the roads, which is not where the attacks were happening.
Well, again, we often make mistakes, which is that we leave matters of security to police and to the army. There's enormous responsibility that relies on all of us as members of our various communities. Let me give this example because we just are having this nasty experience coming out of Borno that a chairman of a particular local government has been found complicit in Boko Haram. And he's been shielded by community members. And that's not how it should be because we as members, we have our own duty. If we leave these things to the police, to the army, we don't have enough policemen to put on every square inch of the soil of this country. Yes, I believe that there is more to do, there is more that needs to be done. But communities must not shirk their own responsibility dealing with some of these crises.
The question is, how do they, because these people have already been traumatized, they feel that most of the attacks have happened on their farm, not that they feel they know. I mean, that's where most of the attacks have taken place. Mm-hmm. In some instances, entire villages are entered and ransacked, mm-hmm. and people are killed or maimed, as the case might be. Mm-hmm. And, they rely on the security agencies knowing that they are unarmed, and most of those people come in fully armed, prepared to create maximum danger. When they cry to the security agencies looking in the areas where they want them to look, would you say they're shirking their responsibility?
Well, let me say that, to be honest with you, we must begin to look beyond the army and the police in resolving crises such as the one in southern Kaduna. We have to rebuild communities that have social norms that have been destroyed. Look at the interesting thing that has evolved out of Plateau. Plateau was the epicenter of this crisis for some time. And the community sees these elements by both hands. And they've been talking with international support and all of that, experienced groups coming to help humanitarian, agencies that are supporting intercommunal dialogue. And people are rebuilding bridges. Southern Kaduna hadn't been like this before itself. The story was told, I've heard of one itinerant Fulani man who was living a given community in southern Kaduna and was so trusting of his neighbor. The Fulani, being Muslim, a Christian neighbor, left behind a son of his with this neighbor and said, care for my son while we go. This southern Kaduna person looked for a Muslim school, the Quranic school, for the child to be taught because the children don't go to that school. In fact, the Fulani man did not, as it happened, left and went and never really came back to that community. This southern Kaduna gentleman raised this child as a Muslim in the choice of his own parents until the young man became educated and graduated from university before he reunited with his family. These are communities that have lived with one another for a long time. A lot has happened. So the things that are going on, there's a lot of criminality, there's a lot of injustice that needs to be corrected. Politics is also coming in. And when politics and security mix, you have a lot of problems.
What precisely
did you see that he did not answer, he did not address the question, he did not address the question, he started talking stories about how somebody exchanged child and all that. Did you see that? He did not address any question. Now watch this again.
I was trying to get the perspective of the presidency in terms of what precisely is going on in Kaduna.
Well, so many things have gone wrong, including, as I said earlier, the breakdown of society, and that really has to be rebuilt. There is security infringement, law and order is being intensified. I mean, that itself is being done, but certainly, as I said, it is not going to solve all of the problems. Beyond this, I think that there's also a lot to worry about concerning politics and religiosity. And even media, coverage of the crisis in southern Kaduna. I think it needs to be more enlightened, balanced, and even-handed. It's an intercommunal crisis. Communities fighting one another. When you read the press, it's as if...
did you hear that? It is community fighting one another.
Of, the victims.
The killing in Kaduna State, according to Garuba Shehu, in this southern Kaduna, has become community clash. Community fighting one another. Did you hear that? And that is exactly how he uses his position to shield terrorists. It is now community. Now listen, continue listening.
Story is being told.
He is also indicting the media. That the media are not reporting the both side. Which both side? Do you have the... is he expecting the media to go and start interviewing the terrorist Fulani Meyete Allah to have their own story? Is that what he's expecting? If he's expecting that, he should provide them for the interview so that the media will have the both side of the story. And this is a government spokesperson. Federal government spokesperson. There is only one side. The media is telling only one side of the story. Where are the other side to tell their own story? And this is a spokesperson of president.
They are Muslims, they are Christians. They kill each other in Kaduna. When people report as if, there's only one part of the community that is suffering all of this, that is a misrepresentation.
Did you hear that? It is a misrepresentation. So which means the terrorists are being killed too. And he is worried about that they are killing terrorists as well.
The fact. Now, politics, I have said, has also a role in some of these things. Don't forget that southern Kaduna is the only PDP senatorial district in the entire Northwest.
Did you hear that? He's channeling into political.
That has implications for the way politics is run. There's a lot of interest. The PDP machine is interested. Okay. Assuming that maybe somebody wants to use force to capture this that they have. There's PDP media, there's just everything, everyone is throwing into this thing. So the thing is that we have to de-escalate tension in the place by ensuring even fair, balanced media, politicians to step back a bit.
Now he is appealing to you, to the medias reporting the killings of southern Kaduna people, to step down a little bit so you can have the opportunity to interview the terrorists that are conducting the ethnic cleansing, because it is an ethnic cleansing. They want to clean everybody from Southern Kaduna, and now he is indirectly appealing to you, the media, to see how to bring yourself down so that you can be able to interview and hear from the terrorist side. What are their grievances? This is the man who is saying if anybody, any group comes out from the southeast and they do what IPOB did without killing anybody, they will crush them. This same man now telling you that the killing in Southern Kaduna, that the media should try to hear both sides. In Biafra land, IPOB, led by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has not killed any single soul. And not only, he even had futuristic threat that if any group comes again to do what IPOB did, they are going to crush them. And he went further to say the reason they have not crushed Masob is because Masob have not done what IPOB did. That is why they have not crushed them. And here in the southern Kaduna, there are the killer side and there are the victim side. And now he is telling you that the media is not reporting the victims also, that the casualties also that this terrorist group are having, that this media should balance it. Because the people that are invading their land in southern Kaduna are revenging or having a self-defense and probably kill the terrorists. And he is concerned that media is not reporting that killing. You see, the people that you give power, now they are using the power, and you have given terrorists power in Nigeria. Apart from the evil that Nigeria government has done to Biafra people since time immemorial, these people have come and they have added times 50 of what Biafra and other ethnic group have been subjected to for many years, since 1970. And that is why we are going to stop at nothing until Biafra is restored. Now, listen.
And allow and the sermonization by some religious leaders. We've seen lately, for instance, there has been this video going viral all over the country about somebody saying people should be killed, behead them. And I hope that the security agencies really are doing something about it. I believe they would.
Who is saying that?
Well, unfortunately, the video is not branded. The name is not there. But it was very clear that this outrageous sermon, seditious as it was asking for the killing and the beheading of people. This is not Rwanda. This country does not deserve.
The country it has turned more than Rwanda. You are making reference to Rwanda that has moved on. Rwanda has moved on. Nigeria is what is going to happen in Nigeria will be worse than Rwanda. You have already started it. What you have done in Nigeria is worse than what Rwanda went through. Now, and we have not even, there is not even fiscal confrontation yet about the disintegration of Nigeria. You already have your men. This man, Garba Shehu, this Mayete Allah have killed more than, they have done with Boko Haram combined together, have done more than what happened in Rwanda. And by the time the main music will set, we don't even know how that is going to end. Now continue to watch.
This, and I have the sense that that person has a lot of explanation to give.
Well, Mr. Shehu, I understand that we might need to go on another break in just a moment, but definitely the revelations that you're bringing out are quite disturbing. I'll bring in the perspective, the initial perspective. Before we went on that break, you were trying to give us the perspective of the presidency. You talked about how there's a communal clashes, but then that was not what we heard initially. I recall that sometime last year, we understood that this crisis had its roots. The recent crisis, because Kaduna has had its own fair share of crisis, but the recent crisis stemmed from the 2011 post-election conflict it, that was the governor, had put forward. He said that some itinerant herdsmen were going back to their communities and they were involved in that 2011 post-election crisis. And a lot of them, some of them decided to come back much later to take their revenge on communities. And that he had tried personally to reach out. According to him, this came out from General Aguirre report that was conducted on the root of the crisis in southern Kaduna for some time, and that was one of the findings of that committee. And that they tried to reach out to these people, especially those who were outside the country, to tell them that they had a new administration and they were willing to pay compensation to them. That also drew criticism from some certain areas, because people felt that if you're willing to compensate the herdsmen, why wouldn't they compensate the victims who have been affected by this crisis as well? But that was the story from the Kaduna State government, that most of these marauders were not from within Kaduna and that the people were living peacefully, as it were. But now you bring in a perspective of a communal clash.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that brilliant question from this lady? That is exactly what I was talking about. That is why I told you this evening is for Garba Shehu to expose how he used his power to shield and protect terrorists. Did you hear that question that this lady asked? This lady asked him that according to even the government, report said that these herdsmen, these terrorists are not, they are not from Kaduna State. And here, he was talking about communal clashes. And he maintained that the media focused only on the other side of these communal clashes. That the media were not reporting from the other side. You see the evil in this man, because they are terrorists. They are terrorists, and they are in the government. But let us see what he is going to respond to this brilliant question when this lady asked him.
Where precisely, the Kaduna State government, that most of these marauders were not from within Kaduna and that the people were living peacefully, as it were. But now you bring in a perspective of a communal clash. Where precisely, how do we reconcile these stories?
Because you have in place, largely in contention,
Did you hear that?
so-called Fulani settlers.
Did you hear that? So-called Fulani settlers. Did you see the face? Look at the face. This guy is a terrorist, like I have said, and we have the record, all of them, one after the other.
I don't know why anybody is called a settler in their own country, but
he is telling you that even when the government report that the Fulanis, these people who come to Southern Kaduna to kill, are not from Southern Kaduna, he is there now telling you, why would you call people settlers in their own country? Is he not promoting it? You hear that? He said, why would people call people settlers in their own country? Which means he is telling the Mayete Allah to tell headers to move anywhere they want and kill and stay in Nigeria. That is what it implies. Listen to it again. I didn't say it. Listen to it again.
This crisis as well. But that was the story from the Kaduna State government, that most of these marauders were not from within Kaduna and that the people were living peacefully, as it were. But now you bring in a perspective.
Did you hear that? The story is from the Kaduna State government. Kaduna State government official report reported that these Fulanis were not from Kaduna State. But this is their representative from the presidency. Look what he answered.
Of a communal clash. Where precisely, how do we reconcile these stories?
Because you have in place, largely in contention, so-called Fulani settlers. I don't know why anybody is called a settler in their own country.
Did you hear that?
But,
Did you hear that? So it means that they have come what they are now. You see the reason why everybody must wake up in Nigeria when we say it is time to divide Nigeria. You see why everybody has to wake up. If this man can come publicly on national television to speak this way, as a spokesman of the president, then you can imagine what is going on in Aso Rock. If this man can come publicly to stand on this position now, what he said now, you can imagine, just imagine what is going on behind the scene. You will understand that you are in a grave danger as a Nigerian. If he can come to a national television and stand this position like this, what he said now, you are in grave danger.
So-called Fulani settlers. I don't know why anybody is called a settler in their own country, but I just illustrated the story of the itinerant herder who left a son with. These are people who had lived in these areas for generations upon generations, having their own cattle.
For generation upon generation, having their own cattle. While the government of the state that own the place is telling you they are not from Kaduna. And he is from Aso Rock, telling the channel television that they have lived there for generations. So, you see how he have used his position to shield the terrorists and aid the killings in southern Kaduna. You think what is giving the Fulanis the morale, this terrorist the morale to go and kill? This is them, this guy here, and the presidency. They are the one giving them the morale. If he can come publicly to speak like this, you can be imagining what they are planning behind the scene. You can imagine that.
And the so-called natives who had believed that they had always been there, for as long as history can remember. The fight is ongoing. I think the very point that the governor of Kaduna had tried to make all along is that this crisis is a long-standing one. It's been there a long time. He mentioned that more than 10,000 lives had been lost, and that the problem has continued to perpetuate itself because people are not being punished for their roles in previous crises. We have had investigation upon investigation, report upon report to successive administrations in Kaduna.
Now he is referring you to successive administration in Kaduna. We are talking about the present killing. He is just to see how to avoid the question. He is referring the lady to the successive administration in Kaduna.
What can anybody do about this? Well, he says this time around it will be different. That people will be brought to trial. They are already making arrests. So we hope that maybe that would have a deterrent effect on the continuous perpetuation.
But people believe that, even if the crisis was going to be between communities, how come some communities seem better armed than others? I mean, these people who come in with guns, shooting sporadically, they're not fighting with machetes. Mm-hmm. You have to ask, how is it that, because they come in a militia-like fashion. And, some people just feel that there is more to this than meets the eye. Some people are already spinning controversy or conspiracy theories around this. I don't know if you've heard any of them. But then they believe that there is more to this than meets the eye. If you go through to what's happening in southern Kaduna, they're not the only ones who have that crisis. Down Taraba to Benue, and you just have pockets of this crisis. Even at some point, Nasarawa here also had to contend with that in places like Namu. I mean, all of this, do we have like a security or an intelligence mapping that says that this is precisely what is going on, specifically affecting these communities, and this is the solution they're proposing?
I cannot say, as I sit here, whether there is this massive conspiracy you are alluding to, whether it is spawned from home or abroad or wherever. One thing I know, one thing I can tell you is that we have a problem because we have cattle herders who, by tradition, follow the grass, the green grass. And when they drive their cattle around looking for the green grass, the cattle stray into farmland and they eat up crops. And when that happens, the farmers fight back. And so you have all this on. And on the other hand also, then you have cattle rustling, which also has assumed a big dimension until recently when some things have been done about it. So when you snatch their cattle and then you kill and you eat up.
Do you understand? Do you understand what he's explaining now? Do you understand what he's explaining? He is trying to justify the fact that when the herders are going with their cattle and the cattle will eat crops, so after eating the crops, the farmers will now attack them. Do you understand the context where his argument is coming from? His argument is coming from the fact that when the herders take their cows to the farmland, when after the cow eating the crops, what the farmer will now attack them. So he is trying to defend the herders that first of all, after the cow have eaten the crops, the farmers will now start to attack them. And then they will now begin to rain bullets on them. And watch for the part 3. One moment. Now,
well, focusing on security, a lot has been going on over the week and even previously, but today, keeping our focus, that we've got retired Major General Garba Wahab, who is a former Director, Army.
One moment. Now, listen to this.
Dachum Bagos, who is a member of the Anti-Corruption Committee and also a member of the Financial Crimes Committee in the House of Representatives. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us today. Well, Mr. Shehu, let me start with, it's not good news for the country, particularly the government has one of the legs of the thrust of the government, which is fighting corruption. Now, this assessment really says...
One moment.
A lot more work needs to be done.
I think
Can you hear me?
there's a problem with the...
Well, regarding this assessment now, where it says, look, we're not doing as good as the government portrays, how are you taking this report? Or how is the government taking this report?
Well, you know that the report itself is of perception index. So perception is what it is, perception. Certainly, it's different from reality that...
Mr. Shehu right now. So the federal government celebrated that report as you...
To be at the level we are now. Address the issue of unemployment. Address the issue of a lot of issues.
We'll come back to some of the things that your committee has been doing about that. But let me take that same question, that comment to Mr. Shehu right now. So the federal government celebrated that report, as you heard him say previously, but now you're saying that same report is not valid? How do you react to that?
The report as we have...
Sorry.
It ignore major strides that have been chalked, that have been achieved by this administration. Under President Muhammadu Buhari, this country has abolished grand corruption. In this country today, it's no longer possible for you to remove $16 billion from the treasury on the basis that you provide power and you don't provide that power. It's no longer possible for you to remove $2 billion from the treasury to say you will buy weapons for the armed forces. And then you just share it to marabouts.
One moment, Mr. Shehu.
That is how they always divert from any question you ask them. They can never answer question straight. They will begin to talk story of how Jesus was born and all that. Listen to the question, he's not addressing it. And they never addressed any question.
One moment, Mr. Shehu. The question is, government celebrated this report when TI said 2 years ago that thumbs up, you're doing great. Corruption levels is dropping, federal government is tackling the issue well. Now the same report, the same organization is saying you have dropped the ball. How do you react to the two? Don't you think it's good to at least consider from what Mr. Bagos said?
No, he will never consider.
Look at areas in which we may have dropped the ball.
He will never consider. He's a criminal.
Yes, absolutely in order. Because the reports are not the same.
You see, he will never consider.
The report of 2 years ago is not the same as this one. What I'm telling you is that this report ignored the fact that EFCC alone had achieved high-profile convictions never seen before in this country. More than 1,000 convictions.
It's the same organization. It's the same organization.
Nearly $1 trillion in recoveries.
Okay,
it's the same organization.
He will never.
It's the same organization that produced the report of 2 years ago that's assessing our corruption fight.
He will never.
Now.
That is a terrorist mind.
Doesn't it deserve some?
Yeah. So what is wrong? What is wrong in examining what is wrong in going?
He will never
to examine the methodology. As a matter of fact, I'm aware that the leaders of one of the leading agencies in the country, PACAC, the Presidential Advisory Committee on Against Corruption, actually went
he's still talking a different thing.
And sat down with Transparency International, disagreed with them on their methodology, and told them that if you have to be taken seriously by anyone in this country, go into research, serious research. So nothing is lost by the fact that they are questioning methodology that you disagree with.
There's an angle to this one. There's a global corruption barometer report of 2019 that also says that in 2015 in Nigeria, has corruption level changed in the previous 12 months? In 2015, 43% of the people asked said overall bribery dropped, but in 2019, 44%. And that's just one of several questions that have been asked in this report. So perhaps it is time for government to dissipate the information so that more people can be involved in the corruption fight, not just agencies of government. Perhaps that's one of the things that's wrong. What do you think?
Well, let me say that I hope that nothing I say here, nothing anybody in government is saying that...
Did he hear that? For him to answer the question, he want to make it clear that hope that nothing he say here, whatever he's going to say here, doesn't mean that the government is saying it. After being on a hot seat, he want to talk something, but he want to make it clear as a spokesperson of the government that nothing he say here will be the position of the government. Do you hear that? Do you hear the fraud? A mind of criminals. That is how they do.
Several questions that have been asked in this report. So perhaps it is time for government to dissipate the information so that more people can be involved in the corruption fight, not just agencies of government. Perhaps that's one of the things that's wrong. What do you think?
Well, let me say that I hope that nothing I say here, nothing anybody in government is saying, that the war against corruption is a finished business.
Okay.
Nobody would make that claim. It's an ongoing process.
He still did not say anything.
However, what we want everyone to understand is that we have made enormous gains, first of all, dealing with grand corruption. Most largely, or in fact, abolished completely. There is administrative corruption in the country that had existed for all the time in the country.
He still did not say anything
about that. We are making efforts reducing all of that. And the data we have, credible as we know it, is saying that look at the police, look at the customs, look at the licensing agency, look at the land office. We haven't abolished it.
Still have not addressed the question asked.
And we'll appreciate
on purpose.
Data presented by anyone, TI or anyone, reflects the ground reality.
Federal government also producing reports that can be accessed by anyone about the fight against corruption.
Okay.
Sorry, you have to repeat the...
Is the federal government also generating its own reports that can be referenced by any of these institutions or agencies all over the place?
Yeah, I believe all of these agencies, because they are accountable, if they don't do it through press conferences, they go before the parliament and they are asked questions and they render account on what they do. So yes, much of what is happening is out there in the public domain. But do people believe all it's always said that the one who is pretending to be asleep is harder to wake than the one who is actually asleep. So those who are determined not to believe this administration on account of what it is doing on all of these things, they will not change their mind, no matter the deluge of facts poured onto them and given to them.
All right, we've since been joined by Alwa Rafsanjani, who is the head of Transparency International Nigeria. Thank you for joining us today on the program. Well, Mr. Shehu earlier did say that, first of all, much as you say that your report is 100% accurate and reliable and factual, he says, he wonders on what basis then would you reject it at this point, because it's still the same question about methodology when you accepted it at the time. And he also highlighted the challenges Nigerians face and experience with regard to fight against graft.
Yeah. Okay, so there's nothing contradictory, as I said, because the report cited 2 years ago is not the same as this one.
They still have not accepted.
If you look at this one, the thing that should worry anyone is the fact that it is pegged on blame. And I want to say that, my good friend, Honorable Dachum, had said earlier that government is engaging in blame games and all of that. So the whole thing is, if you want to engage the government to cause corruption, to defeat corruption in the country, the thing to do is work with the administration, work with the government. The idea, look, when you read the report as issued yesterday, it was pegged on two things. Nigeria has slid back 1 percentage point. Nigeria had come down from 28 to the 27th position. Yet, this is a country that has, if you go back to what the president wrote in a letter to the country, has made a commitment to the country to remove person-to-person contacts when it comes to, approvals of government processes.
He knows exactly what they are asking.
Move rapidly to digitize, including payments for, say, electricity and so on. And so therefore, when you reduce these levels of contact, this incidence of bribe seeking by officials will be much reduced. This is an administration that has put in place a policy beginning this January.
Is that the question? Is that the question?
5 million naira will be put online. You will see it there. So nobody, again, I want to repeat, nobody in the government is saying that there is no corruption in this country. And please, Mr. Rafsanjani, take this to your people. Nobody is saying, no, the thing is, we are saying that efforts are ongoing. It's not a finished business. We are reducing bribe-seeking conduct. And we have evidence to show from research. Your report here just cites
this conversation yet again. Now, Mr. Garbashew referenced the UNODC report. And according to that report, 117 million bribes are paid yearly in Nigeria. And if you crunch that, that's an average of 1.1 bribe per adult in Nigeria. That shows how prevalent that issue is in the country. Yes, there's grand corruption, but then we also see this issue of smaller corruptions in quotes raised, which we hope will be dealt with. But speaking of what government will do with this report, Mr. Shehu, I'm just curious. Now, Transparency International raised a few issues, talked about selective adherence to the rule of law and corruption in political parties. Remember, they talk about political money, also talked about selecting which case to prosecute and which not to prosecute, as well as other issues. I'm just curious, what will the government do with this report? Are you looking away from it, or would you be taking some of the recommendations and issues which were raised in this report?
I think that in all of these things, we need the right environment in which to engage.
Did you hear that?
My good friend Rev Sanjani is talking about other...
He is looking for right environment. Probably the right environment for him is going to be the off camera, so that he will deny everything that is being said. So he wants a better environment. That is why he cannot answer question here. That this should be discussed in a better environment, not on camera.
Countries, USA, Canada, UK, coming down in their own ranking. And I'm sure if you go to those countries, the way and the manner the report is being presented is not in a way to put down governments. No, the idea is to engage and say these are things that you are falling short of and you need to make correction upon. So, but the thing is that you don't make any ego thing, one-upmanship. It doesn't work that way. That's my own attitude. And he himself said his report is not even about reality. Yes, it is, and we have said it earlier. He said it is perception, it's not reality. But this is your own country as well. So if that perception out there is wrong, what are you doing to help what are you doing to change it?
So he is indirectly asking them, he is indirectly asking the Transparency International to be partial, to not to report the accurate. That is what he is doing here. He is indirectly soliciting for corruption from the Transparency International. That is what he just did now.
Instead of you're foiling it, because you know that yourself that your report is on the basis of perception, not reality. You have just said it now. And for my good friend, Honorable Dachum, again, he said 2 times.
Are you saying that the perception of Nigerians is not the reality?
He will not answer that.
That's what Rafsanjani said.
Of course, you will not answer. The question is, are you saying the perception of Nigerians are not the reality? Or you will not answer, you begin to blab again.
You can rewind your tape and listen to that.
Yeah,
is that what you are now saying?
The Honorable Dachum...
Let's allow him clear the air then. Let's allow him clear the air on what he said.
Of course, he didn't answer that question. On
I
purpose.
said that our report, on the basis of the perception of Nigerians about how corruption happens in public sector, Now, the Transparency International is not coming to tell you that, this is
the government's fight against corruption. Is this something the government will consider?
It is absolutely in order and it is ongoing. As I said, we have tremendous respect for the UN ODC report, which I have quoted from, which you have reported upon. And it didn't just say blame, blame, blame. It also said these are elements that are good and you are doing well. And please permit me to clear, before you go on to Honorable Dachum, this issue, I come from the media myself. And I want to believe and I'm convinced that media of exposure of criminality, of crime, of corruption is a deterrent. And I tell you that for many families, that fear of exposure is in fact a far more important deterrent.
He has beginning to talk things that are out of point, as always. Now, You people remember when this one was aired, they come to deny it. They deny that the federal government never approached Mayete Allah and offer 100 billion to Mayete Allah to stop the killing. Now, this man also said that Mayete Allah and Ohaneze Ndigbo and Afenifere are the same thing. Would you say have federal government ever approached Ohaneze Ndigbo or Afenifere and offered them billions to stop killings of Nigeria? The answer is no. That never happened. That never happened. Now also the issue of Mayete Allah apologizing, like I have said in conclusion, nothing like that ever happened. Another thing I want to ask you now is, you that is shouting one Nigeria, where is your president? Where is your president today? Where is your president? Where is your president? I have seen a lot of people circulating the news that the prime minister of the United Kingdom, the prime minister of the United Kingdom has been rushed to the intensive unit. Where is your own president in Nigeria? We want you to show us our president. I want to show you Prime Minister of the United Kingdom addressing his country. Here is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Can we see the status of your president in Nigeria?
Britain and the world. As you would have heard, I've actually been tested positive for the coronavirus. Please rest assured, I am okay. I'm doing fine. Just a bit of a coffee waffy, and.
This is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom talking to his people, talking to his citizens from the where he isolates himself. Can we see your president from Nigeria? Can we see your chief of staff from Nigeria? What is the state? Can we see the hospital bed where he is? And all of you who hurriedly circulated that he has been rushed into the intensive unit, you shamelessly shared it and circulated it on social media. Can you circulate the president of your country like this? This is him talking to people of Britain.
But otherwise, the world must go on. The business must go on as usual. Life must go on. I'm going to be self-isolating here in my study for the foreseeable, keeping myself away from the rest of the number 10 and my family. Obviously, I've not seen much of Carrie these days anyway, because of me being doing what's needed, and obviously we're not getting up to any bedroom shenanigans, because she's carrying my child, so that wouldn't be appropriate. So don't let this be a downer for you. We will pull through this together, and we will come good again. Obviously, I'm here in the study, like I say, self-isolating. My Nana Tit is bringing me things in as and when she's just dropping them at the door. So
somebody say, if he's a comedian, if he is a comedian, if this person is a comedian, he will come and clear the air. If the person is a comedian, he will come and clear the air. It is not my responsibility to clear the air for him. If he is a comedian, the Prime Minister will come and clear the air. And that's it. But for now, you watch it.
apart from his cough, I'm keeping fairly well. So carry on as normal.
Now, show us your own president. And those of you who claim he's a comedian, of course, if he's a comedian, he should come and prove himself that this is a comedian or that he's not the one. Even if he's a comedian, have you not seen the news? Even if this one is a comedian, have you not seen the news of Boris Johnson? Did you not read the Boris Johnson news when he was transferred to the intensive care unit? Where is your president? Where is your chief of staff? They are living on public funds. They are living on public funds, and for that reason, you have the right to know everything about their health in this coronavirus, except they are treating themselves with their own salary. But they are, so long as they are public officers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you have the right to know where they are. So I am asking you, one Nigeria, where are your president and chief of staff? Go and look for them. Thank you. This evening, I have more 2 minutes to go. For those of you who stayed, share this video and let Garuba Shehu, let shame catch Garuba Shehu, and I will be coming for Lai Mohammed. I will be coming for Lai Mohammed. This evening, you have seen how this man used his position to protect terrorists in Nigeria. And that is why when we are talking that the Nigeria government is sponsoring terrorism, they sponsor them financially, they sponsor them physically, they sponsor them mentally, they sponsor them spiritually, they sponsor them otherwise. They do everything to protect them in media, and that is what we have seen Garuba Shehu doing this evening. There is one other video I wanted to play. One moment. There's one other video I wanted to play. One moment. The last video I wanted to play. One moment. Because this Kaduna issue, when the question that they asked him about those coming with AK-47 in Kaduna. Okay. One moment.
After payment of ransom and release of the victims, the police are able to arrest, to go and catch the kidnappers. And as we speak now, I know that the police has in custody not less than 800 of suspected kidnappers. So the system is working. Perhaps it's not as...
One moment. This is not it. One minute. This is not it yet. I'm going to show you that because that is exactly what he didn't answer. He didn't answer that question. Here it is.
They will come back to take, back what would communities are doing.
Is this from is this from the farmers? Are you suggesting that perhaps the farmers too are also taking cattle, rustling cattle from the itinerant herders?
Well, communities are doing. Members of communities do this. Otherwise, if there is no,
you hear that?
Cattle rust.
He is accusing the communities that the headers and this terrorist group are inventing of taking the cows and the cattle that doesn't belong to them. That is what he's doing now to justify Fulani killings. You see that? So the only difference between this man and the Fulanis that are killing people is that he is wearing nice clothes and sitting in channel television to speak on behalf of the presidency. That is the only difference. Apart from that, if he have the opportunity to go to Southern Kaduna to kill, he is going to do it. Now listen to him.
People wouldn't be, taking
cattle from the itinerant
herders. Well, communities are doing, members of communities do this. Otherwise, if there is no cattle rustling, people wouldn't be, talking about it. And this is why ongoing efforts seem to be like what you have in Benue, just coming out of Agatu last week. You had the Nasarawa and the Benue State coming together, to carve out a terrain for cattle rearing.
Which is, you can see how contentious that is. And only recently, we also saw on the news last night that the community members were resisting that move by the state government because they felt that the wounds were just too fresh for them to forget in a hurry.
Well, it is not easy to suppress all of that, but certainly that is the only way to go. I mean, the way of peace, the resolution of this conflict. When and even quite a number of states have, and Enugu, we have seen solutions that are very bright. That wherever the communities steal cattle and they are able to trace, they are made to pay the cattle herders for what they have stolen. And if the cattle rearers drive their cattle into a farmland and they destroy their crops, they are surcharged. So there's a balance in the...
And now you see that now he is making reference to Governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano, when he said if you kill cattle you pay, if you kill human being you pay, and he didn't want to mention that killing of human being because he know that is going to be very, very implicatory. He didn't want to mention that. Rather, he said if you destroy the crops you pay. Now listen to him.
Well, it is done.
But in terms of the lives that have been lost, I mean, it's not very easy now.
Well, the lives have been lost, and I've always said, I've said earlier when we began this conversation, it is always that when there is a conflict like this, lives are lost on both sides.
Did you hear that? That lives are lost on both sides. Lives are lost on both sides. That is his justification. That Fulanis are invading southern Nigeria. And so for that reason, because lives are lost on both sides. That is his justification.
And I think that media reporting always that when there is a conflict like this, lives are lost on both sides. And
he call it conflict. He call it conflict. At least he went to school. He know what is conflict. He calls it conflict. How can you be having conflict with somebody that is doesn't even come from the country? Let us not even talk that they are Nigerians. First of all, they are not Nigerians. Second of all, even if they are Nigerian, you left north. You come to the southern part of Nigeria, you take your cow and cattle to farmland of somebody, and then destroy the crops, and you call it conflict. Not only that you destroy the crops, you pick up AK-47 and start killing and take your machete to butcher the women and children. And you say there is conflict. Doesn't this man understand the meaning of conflict? He should go and check English dictionary. What is conflict?
I think that media reporting ought to be such that it reflects losses on all sides. Otherwise, we're not helping, crisis situations.
From what you can, from what you know, I want to believe that you have more information than this. The information more has been on the side of Southern Kaduna. For instance, we heard the Catholic Church, they're releasing a statement that over 808 lives had been lost in this crisis after the time they wrote their statement, which was under contention. I mean, I think it was the police commissioner, the IG of police, who disputed those figures. But then they never released any figure of their own. We never got any figure from state authorities. Even recently, the governor of the state came out to say that since the crisis began in Southern Kaduna, since the beginning of crisis in Southern Kaduna, over 20,000 lives have been lost to different crises at different points in the history of Southern Kaduna.
Did you people hear that? Let it go down in history. Over 20,000 lives has been lost in Southern Kaduna. Did you people hear it? Over 20,000 lives. 20,000. 1,000 up to 20 have been lost in Southern Kaduna. And this man, you can imagine if 20,000 have been lost, you can imagine the space they have conquered for killing 20,000 people. Do you know what it is? Do you know what that means? It means that you have taken over a large number of the villages and towns in Southern Kaduna. If 20,000 people have been killed, do you know what that means? That is the complete cleansing, ethnic cleansing. They are cleansing Southern Kaduna people. And this man is there saying there should be a report on both sides of people who did not come from Southern Kaduna.
Huge amount of people who have lost their lives to this conflict that could have been resolved before now. Is this something that the federal government is giving serious thought to?
It is tragic and unfortunate that this has happened.
Yes, it is tragic. Also, unfortunately, and immediately, all of a sudden, he regained his conscience. Now, the human consciousness entered for 1 minute, and it will disappear again before he opened his mouth to talk. Now, watch his body language. After hearing this thing from this lady, he regained some consciousness, but that consciousness will disappear just in a second, and he go back to his terrorist. Now, listen.
It's giving serious thoughts. It is tragic and unfortunate that this has happened. But first of all, I must warn that people don't help situations like this when the situations become inflamed. When
the blabbing continues.
Bandy about figures, which people can hardly.
Now he want to dispute the figures.
Justify. It would have been nice if the gentleman who had said 808 and it was carried forward to the National Assembly, it was accompanied by
now he rather want to accept. He don't want to say 800. He don't want to say 800 because he knows the number is very much, and this is the recent killing. So he don't want to say 808 people. He say the young man that said 808. You know he knows what he's doing. He said the young man that said 808 would have been, better. And that number should have been forwarded to the National Assembly. He don't want to mention 800. 808 persons have been killed. He don't want to mention over 20,000 people have been killed. He don't want to mention that. He chose the recent one, which is 800, and say, oh, this one that reported 808 would have been better. So if it was forwarded to the National Assembly. Did you hear that? Because he don't want to mention 800. He think if he mention 808, nobody will understand what he's talking about. So he rather choose to mention 808 instead of 800 to pronounce 800 people. They carry weight when you say 800 people. But when he choose to say 808, that is scam. A mind of a criminal and a mind of a terrorist. You are hearing from him.
List. It's not that one is being insensitive to the losses. But when there is a fight between two groups, each of whom are wielding arms, there are losses on both sides.
He still maintains that there is two groups.
It cannot be that it is only one side that is always losing.
Yeah, but
did you hear that? He said that it cannot be only one side that is losing.
They are the ones who are, because I would think that even for security reports, it's easier to compile the list of those who are the sedentary farmers. If they are farmers by occupation and they're in one position and they're always showing you the havoc and the number of people who have died in their communities, it would be easier to collect their figures rather than collect the figures of those who lost lives who have been itinerant. I recall only recently, for instance, in Adamawa, where 3 policemen were killed in this violence. We understand that they had word that, that these herdsmen were going to come in and that they had been trying to, sue for peace. The state government was trying to broker peace between the two communities. Still, an attack couldn't be prevented, and the policemen who were sent to at the place were killed, in addition to some of the villagers in that place who were killed. Now, the police came out with a statement to say that some of the marauders who came into the village were killed as well, but that they were able to escape with the bodies. I mean, first of all, a lot of people found that incredible, but then, you know, how easy will it be, for instance, if they said 2 or 3 people were killed, how easy will it be for those people to show their own side of the story? It's what you see on the ground you're going to report, isn't it?
Exactly. That is the brilliant question. That is the question I asked before. If you want to hear the other side of the terrorists, provide them. Provide the terrorists. Let us hear from them. So that Nigeria will hear their own side of the story, how they are losing people. Provide the terrorists. And that is a brilliant question and a brilliant observation from this lady.
Well, I cannot account for all of the bodies, but for instance, I think that the escalation of the crisis in southern Kaduna reached...
He cannot account for the body of the people he is defending. What a conny man. You don't want to tell us that, yes, you have communicated with them and these are the number of people that they killed from their own side. You don't want to take that responsibility.
Perhaps the highest point around Christmas. I'm talking about the recent Christmas.
Yes.
And this is from where all these numbers are coming from. And you recall that the president instructed the Inspector General of Police to go to the place. And the Inspector General of Police asked his men on the ground to give him numbers of those they could say were killed.
And how many did they come up with?
They gave him 16 names.
Okay. You see that? Did you people now hear that? Finally, the president of Nigeria went and sent the IG to go to the terrorist, to the bandit, to the terrorist herdsmen in southern Kaduna and asked how many of their members were killed. And they said 15 members were killed. Now, ask me, did the president send the Inspector General of Police to go to those who are not terrorists, the southern Kaduna, to ask how many people were killed? The answer is no. It's coming from him, not me.
So we have to be careful about numbers. And if you ask me, who do I believe? I would rather believe the Inspector General of Police than believe someone whose numbers are not... Did
you hear that? That is going to believe the Inspector General of Police. He is going to believe the Inspector General of Police. That is why he will believe Inspector General of Police. If Inspector General of Police is General Adeniyi, if the Inspector General of Police is General Adeniyi, will he believe him? The answer is no. If the Inspector General of Police is Ejirika, will he believe him? The answer is no. He is believing Inspector General of Police because he's a Fulani. So anything that comes from Inspector General of Police is what they believe because they put him there as a Fulani for cover-up. So if the Inspector General come to say only 2 persons were killed, that is the fact. If the Inspector General come to say only 4 persons were killed, that is the fact. And here on this my video, you have heard somebody saying 20,000 people has been killed in southern Kaduna alone. Southern Kaduna alone, 20,000. But in the last killing in December, he said Inspector General of Police reported 16. Meanwhile, they reported 808. So the president did not ask Inspector General of Police to go and ask how many people were killed, but they asked for the terrorists from the terrorist side. Do you understand why when we say, and they know the people who have done this killing, they know the people who carried out this killing, they only went there to confirm how many of them has been killed and no arrests. No arrest. But when IPOB raised Biafra flag, army will start dancing very soon. Very soon. When they dance, Biafrans will dance. So now, these people that are killing people in Southern Kaduna, they know where they are. And they come to start flying the social media. The police is now going to invade bandits to kill the bandits. They went to the hole where they are hiding and start doing America Wonder. And at the end of the day, they say they killed 200 of bandits in Southern Kaduna. Where are their dead bodies? Where are their corpses? Nobody knows. The next thing we hear is that they shot the helicopter. Nigeria police helicopter, they shot it down. Where are the corpses of the bandits you killed in Southern Kaduna? No, nothing to show for it. Like the Chad. Chad, they led their army to Boko Haram. They killed them. You see the Boko Haram. You see the weapon. They show it to the entire world, for entire world to see. But they come to give you audio killing of the bandit in Kaduna, in Southern Kaduna. They say it is in the news media this year. The army raided their hideout. They killed 200. You don't see no nothing. No weapon was recovered from them. Rather, the same body they claim to have killed 200 shot down a police helicopter in Southern Kaduna. And these are the people that you are supporting. Somebody here has been saying one Nigeria, one Nigeria. These people, you will end up being the victim at the end of the day.
Are not structured, are not in a way, accounted for in full, in a sense that we can see names and home addresses.
Do you think that the
Did you hear that?
should actually take off? From what we've heard,
he wants to see names and home addresses in Nigeria. Somebody who don't have data, somebody who don't have data system, and he knows that he don't have data system. He said he wants to see the names and addresses. Do you have address in Nigeria? How many places do you have address in Nigeria? He said he wants to see home addresses, names and home addresses in Southern Kaduna. Hear him again so you will understand what is going on here.
Numbers are not structured, are not in a way, accounted for in full, in a sense that we can see names and home addresses.
Names and home addresses in Southern Kaduna. Do you hear him? And he is a spokesman of the presidency.
do you think that the government should actually take off? From what we've heard so far, I mean, even 16 is
absolutely. Nobody is pleased. Nobody is pleased with the losses.
No one is. But what I'm saying is, if we're to take, for instance, when we started hearing about this crisis, I think sometime was it in October or I think August, beg your pardon. Sometime in August when we heard the first attacks, I think around Godo, and collate from that time down to December. Are you saying that the figures are being exaggerated? If the police IG only came back with 16 names, is somebody telling the truth somewhere?
Maybe the thing then is we ask the police to update their own numbers, go back to the period you just mentioned, and then give us their own numbers, and let's see what it looks like. 808 is alarming. I hope that it is not up to that. I am persuaded in my mind that the numbers could be much lower.
Did you see that? He said that 808 is alarming, and of course he don't know the havoc. He don't know the havoc his boys are doing in Southern Kaduna. He said that 808 persons killed is alarming. So rather he choose to believe 16 names from the Inspector General of Police.
Much higher.
I doubt that.
Why do you doubt it?
Because we need to have, as I said, explanation as to where are they coming from, all of them.
He need to have explanation to where 800 persons are coming from. He need to have explanation because it is the recent killing where 800 persons are coming from. But he did not pay attention to the fact that 20,000 persons have been killed in Southern Kaduna. That one didn't move him. The only thing that moved him is that the last attack was 808 persons. So he did not want to dispute the fact that over 20,000 people have been killed because he knows the figure. He knows that what they are doing is to grab the land of the Southern Kaduna, chase them away from there and hand the land over to Fulani people. So he knows exactly that over 20,000 has been killed. He is not interested in that. He is only interested in disputing the latest attack that left 808 persons dead. That is what he's interested in. And is 800 now bigger than 20,000 people that he's disputing? So 800 persons is now bigger. And the 800 are now bigger than 20,000 that has been killed in Southern Kaduna. But he's not disputing that. He's disputing 808 because it is a recent one.
And when we have a situation like this, who buries the corpses? It is usually the local authorities that do this. And when they give numbers, you know, we have no other person to believe than those ones. We're just dealing with the Borno, for instance. People are this conflicting numbers coming from the Air Force mistaken raid.
The security situation is such that all over the country is such that people are getting worried. I mean, down south, for instance, now we've seen a situation whereby children have been kidnapped from a certain school, and this is how many days? It's over a week now, and the children are yet to be found, even though the police say they've arrested the lead, the gang leader of the group. But this doesn't seem to have resulted in the finding of these children. In fact, in many instances now, kidnap for ransom is almost the order of the day, and it doesn't look like there is a lot doesn't look like the police can actually handle the situation on the ground. For some people, they believe that these are the ingredients of a state that is not exactly on top of things and has things in its grasp.
No, on the contrary, to be fair to our law enforcement, and I'm sorry, all of these things are happening. Nobody is happy with kidnappings and all of that. And you know that the strategy the police has used for quite some time is that when family members say stay away, they stay away, especially in the period of negotiation, because concern for the safety of hostages is always given after payment of ransom and release of the victims. The police are able to arrest, to go and catch the kidnappers. And as we speak now, I know that the police has in custody not less than 800 of.
He claimed that police have in custody of over 800. Where do the 800 come from? Can they tell us? Are they from the southern part of Nigeria? Are they Fulanis? Are they Northerners? Are they Boko Haram? Which part of Nigeria did they come from? I'm going to stop here. Today, I have proven to you that this man, Garba Shehu, has used his position as the special assistant and the spokesperson to the president, or the special assistant on publicity and media to the president of Nigeria. He has used his position to shield terrorists. He has used his position to defend terrorists instead of defending the country that employed him. He rather chose to defend Fulani, who are number 3 most deadliest terrorist group in the world. He also defended Mayete Allah, and they are the one who they are shielding, and they are the ones supplying arms to all these terrorist groups that you see today. So your one Nigeria is gone. Is gone and gone forever. Join Mazin Nnamdi Kanu tomorrow live broadcast. It will be also aired on this page. Remember, supporting Nigeria is supporting terrorism. Any country that is supporting Nigeria is supporting terrorism. Anybody that is supporting Nigeria is supporting terrorism. You see all these people that come with fake names on our page to shout one Nigeria, they are all terrorists. It is just what Mazin Nnamdi Kanu said last time. Most of them will just have Biafra name, and they will come to the page and start writing and start distracting you, so you don't understand, you don't listen and concentrate on what we are saying. If you see all this kind of messages, all this kind of comment from them, ignore it. That is the best way. Ignore it. Just behave as if you didn't see it at all. Because now they are creating new accounts, and they are doing this to come to distract what we are preaching and all that. So don't listen to those kind of people. Concentrate. See, rather look for people who are asking questions. Look for comments, people who are asking questions. Why this Biafra? Why do we want this Biafra? These are the people you should be addressing their questions, not those who come with fake name and start talking rubbish and start talking one Nigeria. Anybody that is interested or asking question, why do you want Biafra? Or why, of course, somebody said yesterday, one of our Yoruba sisters said yesterday on my broadcast that it's like Fulanese has hypnotized all Nigerians with the food they are selling. And I slept over that comment yesterday. And there is some sense in it. There is some big sense in it. Because all this food that are coming from the north, all these tomatoes, all these Hausa people selling this thing they bring it to the south to sell. Nobody knows the kind of incantation they do to all those things they sell to you. Nobody knows the kind of incantation they do to all these fruits they bring, all those mango you see them carrying. They do a lot of incantation that if you are eating it, you lose your senses. Because I'm beginning to, even in the cow, even in this cow meat, they are, because you can never see them eat that cow meat. Pay attention to what I'm telling you now. You can never see Hausa person buying cow meat from the market and eat. You can never see them. So something must be fishy. Either that before they sell these cows to you, they cast spell on it. Voodoo. They cast spell on it that as you eat this cow, you will never regain yourself as when the issue of Nigeria comes. You will never know what to. Honestly, I slept over it yesterday, and that comment made sense. And I know the sister from Yoruba land that commented, sent that comment yesterday. If you are watching now, that was a very good comment. Because that cannot totally be ruled out. This cow meat that you are eating from Fulanese may have spell on it that you don't get your sense. Because I cannot understand why we that are not having any problem should be the one telling you that it is time to leave Nigeria because you have problem. Because you don't have good school. Because you don't have hospital. You don't have social amenities. You don't have a good road. You don't have security. Why should we be the one telling you all this? Honestly, it doesn't make sense to me. Because you are living in this darkness. So you know you are wearing the shoe. You know exactly where the shoe is pinching you. But we are the one telling you these problems. Trying to tell you that it is time to leave Nigeria so you can have a better future. And we have to do this before your brain can open sometimes. So it really means that those things that you are buying from the north, they have cast spell on it. Those cows that you are buying, they have cast spell on it. You can imagine if somebody is having intercourse with cows, and then at the end of the day, they sell the cow to you. You buy the cow meat and eat it. You don't know what kind of incantation and spells they have casted on those cows and all those things you are eating. I have seen somebody washing mango, washing fruits in drainage, in gutter, in Lagos. You think he is washing it because he don't know where to see water? You think he's washing it there because that is the only place he see where to wash mango? No. There is something more to it. People should start thinking. There is something more to it. It is not because that is the only place, and when you see it, you see in gutter, in drainage, in gutter in Lagos, they put mangoes there. They were bringing the mangoes out and putting it in broad daylight. Putting it to be sold to people. And people will come and buy it and eat. When you eat it, your brain you will not, when somebody talk about Biafra, you will be talking something else. You see? So people should begin to ask this kind of question. Why must the person be washing the mango in the gutter? In Lagos, there are other better, even if the water is, if there are other better places to wash mango. Not where you have dirty, and even the kind of virus that is more than corona is there, and you are eating it. You are eating it, buying it. It is time you begin to boycott all these Fulani Hausa people selling anything. Selling anything from fruit. Start to boycott them. Because this thing your brain is being manipulated, hypnotized, because nobody knows why they are doing it. It is just to make sure that you don't think anything. When they talk about Nigeria disintegration, your brain don't go there until we use the power of God to preach to you and break the yoke before you come back to the senses. So thank you for watching me this evening. This has been a very long broadcast. And remember, Nnamdi Kanu come online tomorrow, Wednesday, I am going to air it here, and stay blessed. Chuku Johnson, thank you for staying this long. Udo Chuku Njemogo, thank you. Paulo Ago, thank you for staying this long. Ijoma Nwobodo, thank you. 1 minute. I have Lenju News Naimeka, thank you. This is the only way to appreciate those who stayed this long. Evangelist Iheme, Emmanuel Ozo Orono, thank you. Caroline Obum, share this video, tag your friends. Ifani Nadi. Those of you who are not getting a notification again, like the page, subscribe, and you get notification. Divine Favor, Prince, Emma Onyero, thank you. Emma Good Luck, thank you. Godstone Osai, thank you. Rosemary Fajide, thank you for watching me. Loveline Eze, thank you. Thank you for watching me this evening. Jenny Ume, thank you for watching me, for staying this long. Christian Ugochukwu, thank you for staying this long. Ike Chukwu James, thank you for staying this long. Okocha Israel, great man, thank you. Isi Kelv, thank you for joining me and watching until the end of this broadcast. Okweze, thank you. Floris Tobena, thank you. Ren Max Johnny, thank you for staying this long. Chukwemeka Uzokwe, thank you. Kenzie Kingston, thank you for staying this long with me this evening. Meme Onyekwe, Okoro Uchijoke, thank you. Buchi Nathans, thank you. Share this, Florence, share this, Buchi Nathans, thank you. Share this video and have a blessed evening, and watch and listen to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's tomorrow. We want to see 15K. If he comes online tomorrow, we want to see 15K. I want his broadcast tomorrow to be aired and hosted in all Biafran group. Whether you are Mosob, whether you are BZM, host that broadcast tomorrow, and it shall be well with you. Biafra has come to stay, and there is no going back. Nigeria is gone. Nigeria is gone completely. Thank you, and remain blessed.